So let's get started. There's our opening slide there. Today we're going to talk about the data dictionary. Some of you may know about this data dictionary and some of you may not, but you'll learn today. If you have any questions, it looks like I need to update this screenshot to be Teams rather than Ring Central. Just figure that one out now. There is a chat bubble on your Teams toolbar. It kind of looks like that one there. A little different, a little more modern. Anyways, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat window. At the end of the webinar, we'll do a Q&A at the end. Feel free to ask me anything. So good morning. Welcome to Training Bytes. My name is Gina Thomas. I'm the training manager here at C&K Systems and your hostess for Training Bytes, a digestible approach to counterpoint training. You've probably noticed that when you look at an item record or a customer record, not all the labels are intuitive. Like address 1, address 2, address 3 in a customer record. What does that mean? Or a price 1 on an item record. What does that mean? So because of that, those fields might not get filled out. They might get skipped. The other thing that you may have noticed when you go into a lookup, those keyword searches are very powerful. You can't keyword search everything. You have to enable keyword searches. Like, for example, by default, if you're in an item lookup and you want to find everything in your inventory that's $29.99, which is a price, that is not a keyword searchable field by default. Your descriptions, your categories, vendors, those are all keyword searchable by default. And so is item number, of course. So I'm going to show you how to do all that today. If the labels aren't intuitive, it makes data entry confusing. Then you'll find out that fields are not getting populated, they're getting skipped. And when you have these fields that you need populated and they aren't, it's going to lead to incomplete records, incomplete lookups if you use your lookups, I hope you do, incomplete views, and also maybe missing information from certain reports. So today we are going to talk data dictionary basics, how to modify a label name, permanently rename. And you know what's nice about modifying that label name is that when you modify it, like let's say on an item record, it carries over everywhere in Counterpoint, even down to your reporting. So if you changed price 1 to say retail, then when you look at your reports instead of a price 1 field, you'll see retail. We'll learn how to make fields required. Maybe you always want your buyers to populate the vendor field on an item record, or maybe you want your sales associates to always populate the address 1 field on a customer record. And then I'll show you how to make keyword searches. So how to make maybe your price keyword searchable, or maybe your subcategories keyword searchable. It's all fairly easy and straightforward. So the two basic things you need to know to work in the data dictionary is the SQL table name and the SQL column name, which sounds all very intimidating, but it's really not. So if I go to any record, whether it's an item record or a customer record, and I right click on the title bar. Now the title bar is this black bar up here. So if you right click on it, you can select labels as field names, control names, and then Counterpoint will display what I call the SQL speak. So you can see on the title bar, this is the table, IM item, and then down here are columns, item no, price _1, regular _price. So you might want to jot down the columns that you want to change and the table that you want to impact. So when you go to Setup System Configuration Data Dictionary, it actually by default brings up the wrong window. It brings up the actual data dictionary, but that's not where you need to start. You need to start in the system data dictionary. And the system data dictionary is actually hiding behind this data dictionary window. So you could scoot it out of the way, or you could just click on this button, System DD. But this is where you need to go first to select your table and your column. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So now here I am in the system data dictionary, and maybe I want to affect my IM item table. So here you can see this box here. These are all the tables. And then when I select a table down in this columns box, I'll see corresponding columns. And then when I want to maybe change the name of item number or make it, well, it's already keyword searchable, but maybe it's another element that I want to make required or I want to make keyword searchable, whatever I want to do. Once I've selected the table and the column, I'm going to customize the column, and that's going to actually return me back to the data dictionary. So you can see here, my table IM item is selected. Item no is my column. And then here on the display label, I would put whatever I want that to say for the entire organization, no matter who accesses the item record, what I want it to say. And once I populate the display label and I click on save and refresh, Counterpoint will auto-populate the long label and report label. This is what makes that new name carry throughout Counterpoint. Now over on the right, if I have a column that I want to make required or keyword searchable, I could use these drop downs. Now I'm going to show you some bonus tips today outside of changing your labels, making fields required, or making it keyword searchable. I'm going to show you how to do a picture mask for phone numbers. So sometimes when you're capturing customer phone numbers, people are inconsistent with their data entry. Some people use a parentheses, some don't. Some use a dash, some use a dot. So having a picture mask will make that data entry much more uniform. I'm also going to show you how to add quantitative values to an item lookup. Notice I said lookup, not view. This is so you can see maybe your quantity on hand, your quantity available, your quantity on purchase orders. Now, a lot of you that have worked with me already have this feature enabled, but maybe you don't. So it's a pretty cool feature to have. I'm also going to show you something called mapping values, which can actually cut down on a little bit of your data entry. And in the example I'm going to show you is maybe I'm populating a customer record and I like to populate the city, but typing out the city name takes too long. So with mapping values, you can have like, it's almost like a macro. Like I could have M for Memphis. So if anyone went to a city field and they typed M, it would automatically populate with Memphis. So when it comes to the picture mask for phone numbers, I just put this nice little screenshot here. I went into the system data dictionary. I selected a table called AR Cust, and I selected a column called Phone 1. I customized the column, returned back to the data dictionary, clicked on the custom tab, and here's my picture mask with little hashtags. And we're actually going to walk through this in the software. When it comes to adding quantities to a lookup, again, in my system data dictionary, the table IM item, and I've selected the column item no. I clicked on customize, returned me back to the data dictionary. I come to the other tab and select this lookup table, which has a really long name, VI, IM item with INV. And then on the next line down, the lookup field is item no. And after I save and refresh and restart Counterpoint, when I go into an item lookup, I'll be able to see my quantities on hand. Field mapping. This is where I said earlier, we don't want to type out the entire city name on a customer record. So I found the table AR Cust, and I found the column city, customized the column, and right here on the main tab, which is there by default, here are my mapping values. So M will give me Memphis, B will give me Baltimore, MU would give me Murrells Inlet, because you may have more than one city that starts with the first letter. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look in the software. So in my first example, I'm going to go to items. And I'm just going to find an item by using my right facing arrow. And again, I want to know the table name and the column name. So in this example, I want price 1 to say retail, and I want regular price to say MSRP. So if I just come up to the title bar, right click, labels as field names, control names, IM item is the table, PRC_1 is price 1, and reg_price is what I want to be the MSRP. So now I'm going to go to the data dictionary. That's in setup, system, configuration, data dictionary. And again, by default, Counterpoint's going to bring you to the wrong window first when it loads. And usually it looks like this, because it's a little confusing. So it usually looks like this. You literally think this is the only window here, right? It looks exactly like that. So you can scoot it out of the way, because this is where you need to be. Or you can just click on System DD, and here it is. So I want the table IM item. And I'm going to use this lookup or this drop down here, and that'll get me to the IM section of the tables list. Now they're in alphabetical order, so I could scroll down, or if you just double click on one of these fields and it doesn't look like anything happens, and just start typing IM, now it looks like something's happened, item, then you'll get there faster. But if you want to scroll, that's fine. Now I need a column, PRC1, and I also want the regular price column. Again, alphabetical order, I could scroll down, but something that's a little bit faster is if I double click and I just start typing, there's PRC1, and then I have to customize column. Okay, now I also wanted to change my regular price, so I'm going to have to go back to the system data dictionary, and I'm going to find regular price, double click somewhere, reg price, there it is, customize column. So here I am back at the data dictionary. So for price 1, I want it to say retail. So I'm going to come to the display label. I'm just going to type retail. And then when I save and refresh, it populates the long label and the report label. Regular price, again, I want this to be MSRP. So I'm just coming over to the display label. I'm going to save and refresh. And you can see it populates all of that. No need to restart Counterpoint after this type of a change. There are some changes that you'll make in the data dictionary that will require a restart. This is not one of them. So now let's go ahead and let's go home. I'll go to items. And I'll just find any item. But now you can see my price 1 says retail and my MSRP used to say regular price. Let's go to a customer record. So maybe I want to make address 1. I want to make a couple changes. First of all, the default customer record, address 1, maybe I want to change that to street address, and maybe I want to make it required so that my people always populate it. So again, table name, column name, right click, labels as field names, control names, AR cust is what I'm looking for, and ADRS_1. So I'm going to go back to the data dictionary, setup, system, configuration. Again, I'm going to be looking at the data dictionary, but I need to get to the system data dictionary. So I'm just going to click on this button. My table is going to start with AR. It's AR cust. It's pretty high up here in this list. So I'm just going to scroll down. So there's AR cust. Here's address 1. Customize. And I want that to be more intuitive. I'm going to make it street address. And again, I'm going to save, refresh, populates everything. And I'm going to make it required. When you make a field required, it doesn't require a restart of Counterpoint. There is kind of a gotcha with this though, because I currently have existing customer records. Some of them have an address 1 and some of them don't, but now it's going to be required. So I'm going to show you what that gotcha is. So here's a customer record. So notice street address is now green. That's a required field because I made it required. Has to be populated. So if you happen to go to a customer record like this one that does not have a street address, it's an existing customer record, and maybe I'm just adding a phone number to it, right? If I save, this is what's going to happen. Kind of like wah, wah, wah. So you get this pop-up. Down. Anytime you get these pop-ups on the lower right like this, it usually means you've missed a required field. And they tend to be very straightforward in messaging. You must enter a value for the street address. So there's no way I could just update this phone number without also populating the street address before saving. So that's kind of the gotcha with that. Let's say no. So now I go into I'm going to go on to a required field, or I'm sorry, keyword search now. So I go into my item lookup here, whether it's this lookup or this lookup, and I want to see everything in the inventory that's $29.99. And Counterpoint says, I don't know what you're talking about. Now, if I said, show me everything in my inventory that had the word wood in it, Counterpoint, that description field is keyword searchable. So Counterpoint finds anything with wood in the description. Now, maybe I just want to see all my food items, right? Well, Counterpoint does find everything attached to a food category. So the item category is definitely keyword searchable. Maybe I want to find all my items from Dunlop. So you can see Dunlop is a keyword searchable field. That might be because of the description too. Counterpoint always does stop at the first match it finds when you're doing a keyword. But I want to make my price keyword searchable. So again, I need to know table and column. So right click, labels as field names, control names. Notice even though I changed this to say retail, when I go in to see the SQL native label, it does show me PRC_1. Okay, so that's what I want to make keyword searchable. Now earlier, I was in the data dictionary and I made price 1, I changed the label. So that price 1 that I want to make keyword searchable is already in my data dictionary. So I don't have to go back to the system data dictionary and reselect it all. It's already there from an earlier configuration. So if I do in the data dictionary AR custom is here because I selected it earlier when I wanted to change the name of address 1. Or I'm sorry, I want IM item. So IM item is already here because of the label changes I made to price 1 and regular price. Matter of fact, the column price 1 is here as well. And you can see this is where I changed it to retail. But now I can come over here and make it keyword searchable. Save and refresh. You do not need to restart Counterpoint. I'm going to close out of here. And let's go back into items. And let's go into our lookup. And let's find $29.99. And you can see, look, my column doesn't say price 1, it says retail. And I found everything $29.99. So now price or retail is keyword searchable. This will work at your point of sale lookups and any other lookup in Counterpoint that involves an item. So it'll work in this lookup. It'll work in this lookup. $29.99. Okay. And a point of sale lookup. Okay. Let's talk about a phone mask. So I want some consistent data entry on my customer phone numbers. So if we go to customers, and then I'll select a customer. So again, I need to know table name, column name. Right click on the title bar, show labels as field names, control names, table AR cust, phone 1 is the column. So now I'm going to go back to my data dictionary. So system data dictionary is where I'm typically going to start. I need AR, AR cust. I'm just going to scroll down real quick here. There it is. And then I want phone one. So I'm going to double click and I'm just going to start typing phone. Here it is. And now I'm going to customize the column. Then I'm going to go to the custom tab. And here on the picture mask line, I'm going to type hashtag, 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 dash, hashtag, 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 dash, hashtag, 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 hashtag. So this means that the format is going to be 3-digit dash, 3-digit dash, 4-digit. And it's going to require all of the digits, all 10. So now I'm going to save and refresh. You do not need to restart Counterpoint after doing a picture mask. So now when I go to customers, and I'll just do a new customer here. I go down to phone number and I type in a phone number. I'm going to type 555. Counterpoint automatically put that dash in there for me. 555. I'm going to try and just do 12 instead of all 10. Oh, need the address. And then it's mad about the picture mask. Okay, so now it's happy, except I don't have an address. Now watch what I'm just going to put a number 1 there. Just because you make something required, Counterpoint's not clever enough to figure out that that number 1 is not really a valid address. So as long as something's there, Counterpoint's going to let me save the record. The gotcha on the phone mask would be for customers who have existing phone numbers that don't meet the mask. So if you're making, let's say, an update to their address, or you're making an update to their city and the phone number doesn't match the formatting, you will not be able to save this record without fixing the formatting in the phone one field. Okay, I'm going to go back to inventory items. Now I have 2 stores. I have a main store and an east store. I'm actually signed into my main store right now. So when I pull up an item record and I see this quantity on hand, quantity available, this is a company-wide value. It's my main and my east combined. Now, I'm going to use my superhero here, and I'm going to come to this lookup on the item number line. This is important. So if you're looking at an existing item, you can't get into that lookup. You can get into this lookup, but this is not the one that's going to help you in this example. So I'm going to use my superhero, Backman. I'm going to go to this item lookup. So I have been configured to show my quantities in this lookup, and because I'm signed into my main, these quantities represent what's available at my main and quantities on POs. And because of the configuration change I made, I can add other quantitative values. So if I go into my column designer by right clicking, or I go to options, column designer, and I'm just going to click on one of these and type a Q. By default, when you go into this lookup, you do not see all of these quantity values. You can see them in a zoom, but you don't see them in a lookup. So it's really nice that I can add, maybe I want quantity on hand. Maybe I want to see quantities on a customer order or special order or a layaway. I can just add them. Now, once you add the quantities, you'll need to save the lookup. And I'm actually going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you how to configure for this and how to actually save, like here's a good lookup to have. Once you have quantities in here, you can actually create a lookup just to focus on your negative numbers because we're always chasing negatives. And I covered this in a webinar kind of 2, 3, 4 months ago, but I think it's worth revisiting. So we need to go to the data dictionary. Configuration, data dictionary. And again, we're going to go to the system DD. The table we want is IM, and we want IM item. That's a lot of scrolling, so I'm going to double click IM item. And I need item no. So down in the columns, I'm going to double click. There's item no, and I'm going to customize. Then I'm going to go to the other tab. And here on this lookup table line, which by default is blank. This is all blank by default. So I'm going to go to this lookup table. And I'm going to choose this drop down because this is a really long list and I need to get down to the V's as in victory. So I'm going to choose this little drop down. I'm going to say, get me down to the VI section. And then I'm going to need to scroll a little bit because there's no quick searching in here. But we're looking for VI, IM item with INV. And so these are in alphabetical order, VI, IM item with INV. VI, IM item with INV. What this is doing is it's kind of marrying together your item table and your quantity table. So I'm going to click OK. Now down here in the lookup field, this one's easy. So again, I'm just going to go over here to this ellipse. What you need is right at the top, item no. Then you're going to save and refresh, and you're going to have to restart Counterpoint. Otherwise, you won't see the change take effect. Okay, so I'm going to restart. I'm going to put in my password. Happy people shopping in retail on my splash screen. See, it happens to me too. You're not the only one. You get 6 tries. Did you get locked out? Okay, so now when I go into inventory items, and again, this is very important, I will not see those quantity values in this lookup. They're not available. I won't see them in table view. They're not available. Come on back here. I will see them in this lookup on the item number line. So now that I have these quantities in here, maybe I want to have a lookup that just focuses on my negative numbers. So I'm going to focus on quantity available and see if I have any negatives. That's going to mean I need to modify a filter in this lookup. So if I come over here to filter, I'm going to right click and I'm going to customize. Then this line here, it's really hard to see, but it says click here to add a condition. So I'm going to click here. Counterpoint doesn't know what I'm looking for, so it just brings over the next condition it sees in red. So I'm going to have to click on that condition because I want quantity available. I'm going to type a Q on my keyboard. That jumps me down to the Qs. So here's my quantity available. If I wanted to filter for quantity on hand, you could. Now it says quantity available equals, but I want quantity available less than. So I just clicked on the word equals, less than. You can put criteria in this view, but it's very clunky and sometimes it doesn't take. So before I put in a value, less than 0 is going to be my value. I'm going to simplify the filter first. So I'm going to right click, simplify. Now this is easier to put your criteria in. So I want to see in my inventory that where the available is less than 0. In other words, show me the negatives. Okay, and here we go. So now I have filtered for a view or a lookup, I'm sorry. I've filtered a lookup to only look at negative values. And anytime I want to see negative values, I don't want to have to revisit the filter and customize just to get this view or this lookup. So you'll want to save the lookup. Then it'll be there all the time. And as things fall into the negatives, they'll automatically appear in this list. So I'm going to go to Options, Save As. Now be careful here because Counterpoint will want to save it as the default. And if you save it as the default, it's the default for everyone in the organization. And boy, won't that cause some confusion. So you want to give it a name, like negative inventory. I already have one in here. And then click OK. And you won't get this message. It already sees that I already have this lookup. Now, this lookup will always live in this dropdown. So normally when anyone goes into the lookup, anyone in the organization, they see this. They see the default. So if you want to change over to the negative, you just change over. And here's the really nice thing about a lookup is that this can ultimately become a report. So you can hand this off to one of your sales associates to spot check the inventory. So you can either preview or print. So I'm going to preview. When you preview anything in any lookup anywhere in Counterpoint, you will get a record count at the bottom. So this shows you, and I'm not in too bad a shape. I have 7 items in inventory that are in the negatives. So I'll print this up, hand it off to my sales associate and say, go count these items. I think I might need to do an adjustment. So then I talked about mapping. So currently when I go to a customer record, by default, and I want to put in a city on the city line, I have to type the whole city name. So I'm going to simplify that just to make data entry go faster. That way maybe my people are more encouraged to actually populate customer records because they're not a pain. I don't have to type one letter in that field. So again, I need to know table and column, right click, labels as field names, control names, table is AR cust, column is city. Pretty straightforward. So I'm going to go to setup, system configuration, data dictionary. I'm going to go back to my system DD. I'm going to find AR cust. And again, it's not too far down in this list. Down here, I'm going to find city, which is right, pretty far up in the list. It's alphabetical. I'm going to customize the column. And over here on the right is where I'm going to put the mapping values. So maybe M is Myrtle Beach. And B is Baltimore. And I also have Memphis, so I would do ME because I can't have 2 M's. It's not going to make sense. It's going to confuse Counterpoint. So Memphis, right? And then I'm going to save and refresh. Again, you do not need to start Counterpoint for this change. You can just go ahead and look at the change immediately. So I'm going to close out of here. This is a really nice feature, by the way. Customers, well, I got it right here. Customers. So now when I come down to the city field and I type M, press my enter key, I get Myrtle Beach. If I type ME, press my enter key, I get Memphis. If I type B, press my enter key, I get Baltimore. Now let's say I have a city that's not mapped like Charlotte, right? I can still put Charlotte in there. It's not going to get mad at me. So that's the data dictionary basics. I mean, there's lots of other things you can do in the data dictionary, but these are just very, very basic things that might help you out, in your day-to-day life. So with that, let's go back to the PowerPoint presentation. And no, I don't want you to exit because I need you today. So I'm just going to start from this current slide. Might have to change my presenter's view here so it's not confusing looking. So hopefully your takeaways today, how to change a label name. I want price one to say retail. How to make fields required. I want it to be blue or green. So, it has to be populated. And how to make certain words, keywords searchable, like our price. And then we also did some bonus things with the phone mask, how to put quantitative look values in your lookup, on that item number lookup line, and also how to do mapping just to make data entry go a little bit faster. So I always appreciate your feedback and your topic suggestions. When you get your video Friday or Monday at the latest, again, we've had few changes, so it might be Monday. There is going to be a survey. I appreciate if you fill out the survey. It's pretty quick. You can remain anonymous. If you want to fill out the survey right away, just go to our website, www.cksystem.com/Training Bytes survey. Okay, and then to get customized training or an expanded instruction on the data dictionary, on this month's topic or more, schedule your one-on-one training with me. You can call me at the main number extension 3, or you can email me at training@cksystem.com. Next month, October 5th, so in just a few weeks, we're going to talk about bills of material and sales kits. This is a feature for Counterpoint front end users. So if you're Galaxy and you know who you are, if you're Galaxy, not extremely helpful for you. Um, but a bill of material and a sales kit, they're both ways to bundle product. Like a bill of material would be like you want to make a gift basket. What you see is what you get in this gift basket for $19.99. Or maybe you want to make a sales kit where if you buy all these together, you get a discount. So this is going to be really helpful in advance of the holiday season for those of you that maybe make gift baskets or maybe want to bundle product with substitutions. So we'll learn all about that on October 5th. So make sure and reserve your spot. Okay, so with that being said, I'll take questions. Let's see what we got here. Any questions in the chat? So here's a good question. Wouldn't the item lookup method, and this is about negatives, overlook the negatives in a gridded item? Yes, that is correct. So if your overall on a gridded item is positive, that's what you're going to see in your lookup at the style level. You're going to have to drill down on that gridded item in order to see the negatives. It's kind of like one of my love-hate relationships with gridded items. I'll show you what I mean by that. It's a little clunky. So I'm just going to find a gridded item. And I'm going to do a search. I'm going to find, oh, see how it's at my negative inventory. Oh no, I'm panicked, I'm confused. I'm just going to change it back to my default. If you ever do a keyword search and weird things are coming back, check your lookup because Counterpoint will remember your last lookup. So I'm going to find my polo here. So here is a polo that's food. That's hilarious. Let's look at this polo. So if you zoom in on it, and then you come up here to view grid, you'll see your negatives in here. And I don't have any. So yeah, that is a challenge with gridded items. All right, any other questions? Looks like we had some sound issues. I hope this got resolved. Thank you everyone that helped and pitched in. I appreciate it. Marty, appreciate it. Thank you. Poor Libby, I hope you got your sound back. Thanks, Gina. Amazing. I see my niece calls me amazing Aunt Gina, so I'm glad it's amazing information. Um, good. I'm glad you enjoyed the session, Debbie. Thank you very much for the feedback. Of course, I have another session at 1 o'clock Eastern time. So if you want to attend the second session, you are more than welcome to. You want to invite other people from your organization to attend the 1 o'clock session, just send out that link. That's it. And that's the Teams link, not the Ring Central link. Okay. If there aren't any questions, I'll thank you for your time. Hope to see you on October 5th. And have a great afternoon, everyone.